In this video, we will be going through the email marketing webinar, including how to create and send a campaign, view reports, how to manage contacts, and how to create lists and segments. In order to access the email marketing module, we first must log into the website as an administrator. So let's go ahead and click that member login button. And we'll just enter our login credentials here. Once we've logged into the website, we're going to go ahead and click on our name, and within the drop-down, we're going to choose Switch to Club Central. Club Central is the back area of your website, which contains the modules that you'll use on a common basis. For email marketing, we're going to go ahead and look for that email marketing tile. Now, just before we go into the module itself, just a couple things I want to point out for you. So one note in regards to internet browsers. When you're utilizing email marketing, you should be using either Google Chrome or Firefox. And you want to avoid using either Internet Explorer or Safari, because email marketing does not like these browsers as much, and they will actually prompt you to log in to email marketing when you're already logged into the website. Okay, so Google Chrome and Firefox. Just another item to point out is our E3 Help button. Clicking this will take you over to our online support portal. And for email marketing, you want to go ahead and focus on the emails tile. From here, we have lots of resources available for you, including knowledge-based articles. So feel free to definitely take a look through these as you like. We have the educational webinars. So if you would like to sign up for the live version of the email marketing webinar, we do offer this once a week, and it is free to attend, so definitely feel free to sign up for a refresher or go ahead and sign up your new staff. And then we have the video library. So along with the video of our webinar, we do have some other videos in here, so definitely feel free to take a look through here for some resources. Also, for our video today, we're going to be focusing on the full email editor. So if you like, you can watch the video entitled Utilizing the Smart Email Builder Editor, and that will walk you through on how to create a campaign using our other editor tool. Now, if you can't find what you're looking for, or you just have a specific question, definitely feel free to reach out to your trainer or project coordinator. Or if you are live with email marketing, you can find our Jonas software support right here, and our club system support right here. Now let's go ahead and click on that email marketing tile. The first page you'll see when you access email marketing is the email marketing dashboard. And there's a lot of fun, helpful tools you can find here. The first one is our quick links. From quick links, you can go ahead and click Start an Email Campaign, which will launch a new email campaign for you. So you can start an email campaign directly from your dashboard or while you're within the Email Campaigns tab on the left. Beside that is the Add Contacts button. Now, the only time you want to manually add contacts into email marketing is if they don't exist in your back office. So maybe it's your staff or your prospect members. You do want to make sure you're running the export from your back office or your accounting system. And if you have any questions on how to run that, again, feel free to reach out to your trainer, project coordinator, or a support team, and we'll be able to provide you with those instructions. And the last link you'll see is create a sign-up form. Now, the sign-up form is actually the resubscribe form for members that we create for you, so you don't have to worry about utilizing that button. Now, below those quick links, you'll see we can find our 5 most recently modified campaigns, regardless of what status they're currently at. And clicking on the name of the campaign will actually open that campaign for you. To the bottom left, we have our contacts growth summary. And this is just going to give you some basic statistics regarding your contacts over the last 3 months, such as how many new contacts we have, and maybe how many have unsubscribed. Then in the bottom right-hand corner, we have our last email campaign activity. In here, it's just going to show us some really quick statistics, such as how many emails were sent. Out of those emails that were sent, how many were actually received, bounced, and clicked through. And if you click this More button, it will take you right over into our report section. Next, we're going to go ahead and navigate over to email campaigns on the left. Before we create our email campaign, I just want to walk you through what we see on the page here. In this table, we can see any campaigns that we've created, maybe we're working on, or we've already sent. The name of the campaign is what you labeled the campaign internally, so think of it like a Word document. Your recipients won't see the name for the campaign, whereas the subject is the actual subject line of the campaign, so this is the one that your recipients will see. Status we'll circle back to in just a moment. Recipients will include any mailing list and/or segments that you've chosen to send this campaign to. Then you've got your scheduled and last sent dates, and these are usually the same. If we go over to the right, you'll also have last updated, which is the last time you actually worked on the campaign. And lastly is action, which I'll also circle back to. Now, if I scroll to the far right, you'll notice there is a gear icon. And clicking that gear icon will allow us to show or hide columns that we want to see within our campaign table. So because scheduled and last sent are very similar, typically I might uncheck one, click apply, and it's just going to make the scroll bar a little bit smaller for you. Now every status has a corresponding action. The first status you may see in here is called incomplete. This means that you've started to create the campaign, but you haven't completed all the steps. So you're usually stuck on step 2. Now we don't have an example here, but in most cases when you do have an incomplete status, your action is to go ahead and edit that campaign. Then you have your draft status. The draft status means that you've created your campaign if you've completed all your steps, but you haven't necessarily selected your recipients or scheduled a campaign to send. So in some cases, you can see we can either select those recipients or schedule and send our campaign. And lastly is our sent status. So this means that you've successfully sent that campaign. And the corresponding action is to view a report. For every campaign that you do send, you will be able to see a report for it. Now maybe you actually want to resend a campaign. In regards to resending a campaign, we have two options. So the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and check mark beside the name of that campaign. So option 1 is to simply resend that campaign, and we can do so by clicking that resend button. And maybe that's because you've already sent this campaign, you just want to send it out to a different group of recipients. So it'll let you choose your recipients and schedule and send. But what if you decide, I actually need to go in and make a few adjustments to this campaign before I resend it? If that's the case, what you're going to do is click this copy button. This will keep your original campaign, but make a copy for you. So it'll say June dinner invitation -1. So you can go ahead and edit your copy. That way you will have your original still. Go ahead and make your edits, select your recipients, and then schedule and send. Now just one more thing before we go ahead and start our email campaign. And that's actually clicking on this little gray arrow you see on the left here. This is going to open up what is called our categories. So categories aren't like folders within your email inbox that you might be used to. What the categories do is they actually apply tags to your campaigns. And you can click and drag those campaigns into those categories, making it easier for you to search for specific types of campaigns. So for example, maybe I want to go ahead and select my June dinner invitation. You're going to hover over the 6 dots and click and drag into your applicable category. You will always find all your campaigns within your all category, but now if I click on dining, I'm only going to see my dining campaigns. To make new categories is very simple. You can add subcategories to any one of your existing ones. Click new category, give it a name, and save. It is optional if you want to utilize categories or not. If you don't want to utilize it, or you just want to see the table version a little bit larger, we can go ahead and minimize by clicking on that gray arrow. So let's go ahead and start our email campaign by clicking that new email campaign button. For our email today, we're going to go ahead and utilize the full email editor. If you like, as we saw earlier, there is a video that will walk you through the Smart Email Builder if you are interested within our online support portal. So let's go ahead and click on Full Email Editor. Now our first step is to go ahead and choose our template. When you're working on your template, notice that you do have the option to start from a blank email. However, we don't recommend actually utilizing this option. And that's because even though you've gone into your campaign and you've done your formatting and your styling, what happens is when the recipient receives that campaign, it's going to default the font to their default email program. So if you do want to use a blank template, please utilize either the blank email or the blank email with banner. That way when you do format and style your text, it will remain the same once your recipient receives it. Now everyone will have a featured folder, and the featured folder is going to contain templates for any upcoming events or holidays. So for example, in here we can see a lot of Father's Day. You will also have a club industry and responsive design folder. The responsive design will include different types of holidays and special occasions, whereas the club industry templates will contain more club-specific templates, such as your events, newsletters, and golf, for example. A button I will show you when we go to create our template is to be able to actually save that as your own template. Once you start saving your own templates, what's going to happen is it's going to create this My Templates folder for you. So moving forward, regardless of the time of year or what type of template it is, if you've saved it as your own template, you'll find it within your My Template folder. So let's go back over to Featured. Say you're looking through these templates and you really like the layout of this Father's Day one. If you click this star, what that will do is add that to your favorites folder. So you'll be able to find that template in your favorites folder no matter what time of year it is. So for our video, we're going to go ahead and utilize the newsletter with 2 articles. And in order to select that template, you're just going to go ahead and click on it, and you'll notice we have a nice orange border surrounding that template. Now when we're picking a template, we only see a thumbnail preview. So if you want to actually see what the template looks like in a fuller version, go ahead and click that magnifying glass. This will open up a preview of the template for you. So if you scroll down, you'll notice there are some placeholders which have dimensions listed on them, some text, and social media icons and a footer. The really neat thing about the preview is you can decide what device you'd actually like to view this on. By default, we have desktop. However, you can definitely switch over to mobile or tablet. So for example, for mobile, you can see how the campaign will stack differently depending on what type of device your recipients are opening this campaign on. Once you're done reviewing the preview, just go ahead and click the X button. Once you're ready to go with your campaign, you're going to scroll over to the right-hand side of the screen and click Next. This will take us over to step 2, which is actually to work on the design of our campaign. Now the first thing you want to do before you actually start working on that campaign is give your campaign a name. So just a friendly reminder that the campaign name is the internal reference for you. So it's almost like the name of a Word document. By default, the name of the campaign will take on the current date. So imagine if you come in here and you actually create 5 campaigns today. That's going to be a lot of Wednesday, June 27, 2018, -1, -2, -3, etc. So to change the name of your campaign, go ahead and just click in that name field. Give your campaign a name, and you can either click enter or click that green check mark to save. Now you can go ahead and start working on the campaign. But before we do that, I just want to point out the content editor. And the content editor is found at the very top of your campaign here. If you are familiar with working on your club's website, you'll find that the content editor is very similar. And if you haven't worked on the website, not to worry, the editor is very similar to most editors you might have used, including Microsoft Word. Now the most important icon on the editor is your save button. So definitely make sure you are clicking that save button throughout the course of working on your campaign. Beside that, we have our save as my template. So this is the icon I mentioned earlier, where you can come in, say you really like the layout of this newsletter, you make some adjustments, you add your main images, your logo. What you can do is click this save as my template. What this will do is save that final version when you click on that icon. Okay, you can go ahead and label the template. And moving forward, you'll always be able to find that template within your My Templates folder. For our campaign, we're going to go ahead and start with inserting images. Now you'll notice in most of the campaigns, there are existing placeholders, which is where we actually want to input those images. So we're going to go ahead and start with our logo. For that, you're simply going to click on that placeholder, and you're going to look for the Insert button. From Insert, we're going to select From Media Library. The Media Library is the online storage for email marketing, so any files that you want to add in your campaigns must be uploaded here first. In some cases, you will have both a website media and a media folder within your media library. For the purpose of email marketing, you want to focus on the media folder, because the media folder and the website media are two separate folders and they do not communicate to one another. So make sure you're utilizing that top media folder when you're working on your email marketing files. It is suggested to create subfolders within your media library to help better organize your files. To create a new folder, you're just going to go ahead and click that open folder with the plus sign where it says New Folder. Give your folder a name and click OK. It is also helpful to label your files because there is the search option at the top of the window where you can go ahead and search for your files. If you've already uploaded a file to your media libraries, but you don't remember what it looks like, if you hover over that thumbnail or the name of the file, it will show you a preview. Or if you prefer, you can switch over to the thumbnail view, which will display all your images in a thumbnail preview. If you'd like to upload a file into the media libraries, just make sure you start by selecting the folder that you want to upload that file to, then click that Upload Files button. Before we upload our files, just make sure you pay attention to the upload window. In here, it indicates our max file size of 10 megabytes, our file extensions, which include JPEG, GIF, PNG, and PDF, and it also mentions that any images that are too large will automatically be resized to a maximum of 1024 pixels wide. Now with that said, our suggested max image size is 600 pixels wide. And that's because most of the templates are 600 pixels wide, so you don't want an image that's actually larger than the template itself. In order to upload your files, go ahead and click that Browse button. That will open up your computer files. You can either select one file, or if you hold down the Control or Command key on your keyboard, you can select multiple. Once you've selected them, click OK, and then upload those files. Now before you do upload any files into your media library, we suggest doing any edits. So you're cropping, resizing, and labeling your files. That way, once you do upload them into your media library, you know they're ready to go to be inserted into your campaign. However, if it happens that you need to have a specific size for an image for a specific campaign, or you just don't have access to an editor tool, which you can use Microsoft Paint, Photoshop, or honestly, if you go online and do a search for an online editor, there's lots of free resources available for you. So if you can't get to that editor tool, what you can do is select your file, and you're going to go ahead and click this pencil icon to edit. If you do use the edit option, the first thing that I want you to do is make sure you click Create New Copy. What that's going to do is it's going to create a copy of the original image, so you'll still have your original, but you can go ahead and make edits to your copy. Once you've created a copy, go ahead and make your edits and click Save. Once you've inserted a file into the media library, make sure you don't move or delete it. Because what's going to happen is if we've already used that file within a campaign and a recipient goes and opens that older campaign, they're now going to see a broken link icon. So that's why it's very helpful to go in, make your folders, organize your files, and just make sure they stay put. Now we're going to go ahead and select our logo. Okay, so I'm going to select my image, and we're just going to go ahead and click Insert. So that's placed my logo here, and if you want, you can go ahead and click that placeholder, and we can expand it a little bit if we need to. Next, we're going to go ahead and insert an image into a placeholder with dimensions. So the great thing about the placeholder with dimensions is it's actually going to size the image to fit perfectly within that placeholder for you. So it is recommended to take a look at the template you selected and edit your images according to those dimensions. That way when you insert your image, you know it's going to fit perfectly within that placeholder. So for here, we really don't want to go in and insert an image that's really tall, because what the placeholder will do is it will actually make that image a lot shorter, meaning that it might skew or distort your image. To insert into a responsive design placeholder works the same way as that logo. So we're going to go ahead and click on that placeholder. Okay, we've got 560 by 280. And back over to Insert from Media Library. For this one, we're going to go ahead and choose our dinner time art, which you can see we've already sized that image so it fits perfectly within that placeholder. Then go ahead and click Insert. And it's going to have that image appear very nice within that placeholder for you. If you want to insert additional images, it is not recommended just to simply insert it directly into the campaign. Because what happens is if you insert an image into the campaign without a placeholder, it will not apply a tag to that image, meaning that image will not be responsive, so it's going to appear the same size regardless of what size screen we're viewing it on. So if you do want an additional placeholder, the best option is to actually left click on an existing placeholder, right click, and choose Copy. Then you're going to place your cursor where you want that placeholder to appear and hold down Control or Command and V. Or if you don't want that placeholder, you can simply click on it and click Delete on your keyboard. Now, if you've chosen a template that already has an image you really like, you can actually replace that with your own image. So say we're using this template and this nice dining photo is already here, but I want to put my own dining photo. What you're going to do is right click on that image and you're going to choose Replace Image from Media Library. And that will open up your media library. You'll select your file and it will replace it with your new image. Now, before you replace the image, you'll definitely want to check out the HTML properties, because the HTML properties will actually give you the width and height of that placeholder or the current image, so you can have your image ready to go before you add your new one. Now note from the HTML properties, we never want to adjust the width and height of the photo, because what will happen is if we adjust either one of these, it's going to lock the size of the image, meaning no matter what size device I'm viewing this on, whether it be say a desktop or a mobile device, it will always appear as the same size. So if you do need to adjust the width and or height, make sure you're doing that within the media libraries with the pencil icon. What you can play around with in your HTML properties includes your image alignment, if you'd like to add a border color, a border width, or maybe some padding between the text and the image on the top, bottom, left, or right of the image. And all of these are controlled in pixels. Just make sure you click OK to save any changes you've made. Since we've done some edits to our campaign, let's go ahead and save those changes. Now we're going to take a look at how to insert text into our campaign. So you can definitely place your cursor down and go ahead and start typing. Or maybe you actually have your email already prepared, say within a Word document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy my text, and just notice that we do have some formatting and styling in here. Now we never simply just want to right click and paste our text. Instead, we always want to use what is called paste as plain text. So in order to paste as plain text, we can either highlight and delete the existing text, or if we keep it highlighted, I can just replace it with my new text. So for paste as plain text, you're going to look for this clipboard icon, and within the drop-down, we're going to use paste as plain text. From this window, you can do your Command or Control V, and that's going to paste your text into the paste as plain text window, then click paste. You'll notice that the formatting and styling is now removed from that text. The reason we do paste as plain text is because we want to eliminate as many coding problems that might happen with that copied content. And once you've pasted as plain text, you can go ahead and start formatting and styling your font. So we had this line here. I can change the color if I like, we can italicize, we can bold, and we can change the font size. That way, you can really change the font to look like what you had in your original Word document. Then we have the title. So if you notice, there is some coloring and different font style within the title. So if I go back over to my Word document, notice how my title here is very similar, but we're going to complete the same steps. So I'm going to highlight and copy my text. We're going to highlight, go over to our clipboard and paste as plain text, and Control or Command V that text. Now notice how it is stripping the formatting. However, as soon as we click paste, if you are inserting text into an area that already has styling and formatting, it will actually pick up the style and format of that existing text for you. Next, I want to point out a feature that we have that is called our merge fields. So if you like, instead of simply saying Dear Members, you can actually personalize your campaigns. So, for example, get rid of members. If we click on Merge Fields, you have a list here, and if you click more, you'll go into a longer list. And these are the fields that were brought over from your back office accounting system. So I can go ahead and put first name, make sure you put a space, and last name. That way, when I receive this campaign, it'll say, Dear Alyssa Reese. If the recipient does not have this field within your back office, it will just appear blank when they receive it. The next thing we're going to take a look at is how to insert hyperlinks into our campaign. And the first hyperlink we're going to look at is an external link, so such as a website. To add a hyperlink, you're going to start by highlighting the text that you want to use as that link. Then within your content editor, you're going to look for the globe with the little chain link icon where it says Insert Link. Then within your hyperlink type, go ahead and copy and paste, or type in your URL and click Insert. Another option instead of using that hyperlink is to switch over to the quick link. And the quick link is really handy because it allows us to add a link name, the link, add that to our list, and we can actually come in here and choose that link without having to input it every time. So a good use for your quick links includes adding possibly your social media pages, your club's website, basically any links that you'll use in your campaigns on an ongoing basis. Again, you'll just click that link, click insert, and now you've got your hyperlink. Now we know we have a hyperlink because it's your usual underlined and in blue. Just note that we can't test them from your edit mode, but we will be able to do that once we get to preview. If you need to update this link, or you have an existing link that you need to replace with your own, you can go ahead and right click on that link and choose Edit Link, which will open up your link window, or you can remove that link. The next type of link I want to show you is our email link. Okay, so then we're going to highlight the text that you want to use as that link. Go over to our Insert Link icon, and for the link type, we want to make sure we're on email address. Your only mandatory field is the address, so make sure you go ahead and put that in there. And what's going to happen for an email link is when a user clicks on that email address, as long as they have an email program on their workstation, such as Outlook for example, it's going to populate an email for them. So it is optional if you'd like to go ahead and fill out the subject line. This one's really neat because again, it's going to pre-populate that information for your user. So you can put July dinner invitation. Okay, once you've filled out your fields, go ahead and click insert. Now the third type of link I want to show you is our PDF. Because for example, let's say if we're looking down here, we can change this wording over to our dinner menu or a read more button, and we want that to open up a PDF for us. Linking a PDF is a two-step process. The first step involves actually getting that URL. So in order to get the URL for that PDF, we're going to go ahead and navigate over to the media libraries. Okay, so we have insert from media library. Upload your PDF if you don't have it here, or if you do, we're just going to do a right click and we're going to choose the copy URL option at the very bottom. That's going to open up the URL, so you can just do Control or Command C, and we can close that and cancel out of the media libraries. Now that we have that URL, we can go ahead and link our PDF. So we're going to start same thing with highlighting that text. Going to look for our insert link icon, and you're going to go ahead and insert your URL. Then click insert. So there we now have the link to our PDF. And let's go ahead and save our changes. Before you send off your campaign, if we either scroll to the bottom of the page or to the very top, you have a preview and test button. In preview and test mode, you want to make sure you're paying attention to the estimated and HTML code size of your campaign. We want to make sure we don't exceed 100 KB, because Gmail will actually cut emails off if they exceed 102 KB. So just keep an eye on that while you're working on your campaign. Preview and test mode also allows us to send a test campaign to ourselves, or maybe some members of the board or some staff members, to actually see that campaign before we send it to our target audience. So my email is already in here, but I can always click that X and remove it. You can go ahead and start typing an email in here. And once you've done that, go ahead and click your Send Test button. Preview and Test also allows you to see the campaign as what it will look like without being in edit mode. So you don't have our dotted line boxes, and we're also able to go and test out those hyperlinks. So first one we had was our website. So that'll open up our website for us. Then we had our email link, which will start that email campaign for us with that to field we included, as well as that subject line. And lastly, we had our PDF. So clicking read more, there's our PDF with that URL we got from the media libraries. Within your preview and test, you'll also be able to see any merge fields that you've put in. So for example, we can see that my name within the system is going to say Dear Web Trainer. So again, just a nice way to personalize your emails or include any specific fields that aren't contained through your back office. Once you're done in preview mode, if you go scroll to the top or the bottom, we're just going to click that Close Preview. As you're working on your campaign, you may decide that you don't actually need to utilize some of the areas within the template. So if that's the case, go ahead, you can highlight the text, click delete on your keyboard, and you can also right click if you like, and you can delete columns, delete rows, you can add them. Okay, so if you delete something and you accidentally deleted it but you didn't mean to delete it, you do have your undo arrow. Okay, so click that and that will bring back your content for you. If we scroll down to the bottom of this template, you'll notice that we do have a footer. So it's definitely optional if you'd like to fill this out, or you can remove that text if you don't want to use it, because you will notice that when we get to step 3, editing the details for our campaign, you will be able to add a footer as well. Now in this template, you'll also notice that we do have social media icons. So if you click on one of those existing social media icons and click on your insert link button, it's going to show you that it's already linked to that social media page for you. However, if you do have this social media, go ahead and insert the direct URL for your page if you like, and click insert. Of course, if your club doesn't have these social media, go ahead and just select that icon like we've done and click delete on your keyboard. Once you've finished off your campaign, I'm just going to do one more save, and this is also the time where you could go ahead and save as my template, as it will save the last version of the template that you've been working on. So we're going to scroll to the top of the screen or the bottom, and on the right we're going to click next. Now we'll find ourselves on step 3, which is to edit our email details. And first we have the subject. where the subject is the actual subject line of that campaign. So you can make this different from your campaign name if you like. So feel free to put whatever you like in here, right? And you really want to catch your reader's attention. If you like, you can even use merge fields directly in that subject line. Below that, we have the from name. So this will appear as if who the campaign is actually coming from. So in here, you either want to have your club name or the name of a specific staff member at the club, so your recipients can recognize that name. And you also have the from email, which is also who the campaign will appear as if it's coming from. But maybe you decide, I actually don't want this email coming from my implementation email. If you click on that drop down, you can go ahead and select one of your other email addresses. And if you're still looking for an email address that isn't here, go ahead and click Manage Email Addresses. From this window, you're going to go ahead and type that individual's email and click Submit. Just note they will receive an email notification just asking them to confirm that their email address is valid. And once they have done that, they will then appear within this list for you. So let's say I actually want the emails to come from myself. Below the from email, you have your reply to email. And by default, this will be checked off to be the same as your from email. However, maybe I want this email coming from myself. However, uncheck same as from. I want all the replies to go to my colleague Joni. Now, you can update your reply to email list as well. It works the same way as your from email, as the lists are the same. So if you add a contact to one, it will automatically add it to the other for you as well. Then you have the reply settings. Now you do have the ability to track email replies. However, what happens is those email replies are going to come into email marketing, and they will not send to the reply to email until they are processed here first. So in that case, we typically recommend to do not track email replies. That means if there are any replies, they'll go directly to that reply to email as opposed to being processed within email marketing first. If we scroll down, you'll notice we have our footer option. So for your footer, you do not want to check include your mailing address, and instead you actually want to use this edit button. For the footers, you'll have 5 options. Message 1 and message 3 are the same, and they contain your full address. Message 2 and message 4 are the same, but they do not contain your address. And message 5 is just a blank footer. So let's say, for example, that we did fill out the footer within our template. You're typically going to want to use a footer without the address, that way you're not duplicating that information. And then the footer you choose also depends on the alignment of your template. So our newsletter is a nice center aligned, so I'm going to use message 2, which has no address, and is center aligned for us. And click OK. For the subscription form, you always want to make sure that this is set to update preferences, and you always want to make sure view email online is checked. This means at the top of our campaign, there will be text that says read it online, or you can update this if you like, because there are cases where we will receive a campaign and at the very top it'll say click here to download images. If the member does not want to download those images, or maybe they're opening the campaign on their mobile device, they can click that read it online link, and it's going to open the campaign in a web browser as opposed to within their email program. Once you've gone through all your options, again at the bottom of the screen or at the very top of the screen, if you go to the far right, we're going to go ahead and click Save Draft. This will take us over to step 4, which is to finalize the details for a campaign, select our recipients, and schedule it to send. Now, if you need to edit the actual campaign itself, you can go ahead and click Edit, Edit Email Design, or if you hover over the campaign, you can click the paintbrush, and that will also allow you to edit. Or if you want to edit any of the details we just looked at, including that from and reply to email, you're going to click Edit Details. Now we scroll down a bit. Notice how that Schedule and Send button is grayed out. That's because we first have to select our recipients before we schedule and send our campaign. So we can do that either by clicking the Select Recipients button up here, or in the middle of the screen right here. For your recipients, you want to choose any mailing lists and or segments that you'd like to send this campaign to. So for today, I'm going to go ahead and select my trainer mailing list, and at the very bottom, we're going to click Select. Now that we've selected our recipients, we can go ahead and click that Schedule and Send button. When you're sending a campaign, you have two options. You can either choose to send one time, or you can send that out on a reoccurring schedule. So maybe I want this campaign to go out on a monthly basis. Then you also have two options on when you want to start sending this campaign. So we can either send now, or you can specify the date and time. So maybe today is the day that you're able to go in and make all your campaigns, but we want to click on that calendar icon because I actually want this to send out, let's say on the 1st of July, and the clock icon even lets you specify that time. So I want this to go out on July 1st at 12 p.m. Then you have three options of when you want this campaign to stop sending. Option 1 is never, meaning it will just continuously send for you based on that reoccurring schedule. On this date and time, so again here specifying that end date, or after a number of occurrences. So maybe I want this campaign to go out twice. For our example today, I'm going to go ahead and choose Send One Time, and we're going to send now. After you've adjusted your settings, go ahead and click Schedule and Send. Now your campaign will take a moment or two just to actually process that send. So if you scroll to the top of the screen, you'll notice you have a Stop Send button. So the Stop Send will actually stop that campaign from sending for you. Of course, this is more useful for a campaign that you've scheduled out later on, because again, we only have a few moments to cancel that if we've scheduled it to send now. Okay? But if your boss comes up to you and says, hold off on sending that campaign for next week, we have to make some edits, you can go ahead and stop send. Now let's take a look at the Media Library tab on the left-hand side. The Media Library found directly in the left-hand navigation is just another way you can start uploading your files or making small edits to your files if need be. So you can definitely come in here and pre-upload your files so they're ready to go for your campaigns, or you can definitely work on uploading them as you work on the campaign. Next we have Reports. And I'm just going to click on Reports. One of the benefits of our email marketing module is being able to view a report of the statistics from every campaign that your club sends. In the main reports page, we can see a table of all the campaigns we've sent. From here, you can go ahead and click on the plus sign beside the name of your campaign, and that's going to show you some of the statistics, including how many campaigns were sent, and out of how many were sent, how many were actually delivered, opened, and clicked through. If you click on the magnifying glass, it will show you a preview of the campaign. To look further into the reporting, go ahead and click on the name of that campaign. This will then take you into the campaign overview. In the middle, we have our email activity. From here is where we can see the opened versus clicked, subscribed. If you ever see anyone within the complained section, it's most likely that they've marked your email as spam. You can view contacts within each one of these sections by clicking on any one of these numbers or on the subtitles on the left-hand side. Within your email activity, you also want to pay attention to your click-to-open rate. If you do not have at least 30% for your click-to-open rate, you want to start questioning the content of your campaign, maybe the subject line, is it the audience you're sending it to, or maybe we're just sending too many campaigns. So i.e., how can we have a higher click-to-open rate? At the bottom, we have our email delivery. So this will tell us how many campaigns were sent, and out of those sent campaigns, how many were actually delivered or bounced. So again, we can click on any one of those numbers or navigate through the left-hand side. Then in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you have a little pie chart that will show you the percentage of users that have opened up your email within their desktop or within their mobile device. Then if we scroll to the top, you do have the option of printing this report if you like, or you can export. And when you export it, it's not going to download a file directly on the screen. It's actually going to send that over to your message center. The message center will show the recent activity that has taken place on your account, such as emails that have been sent and reports that have been exported. If you did export a report, you're going to go ahead and look for that subject, and the report will be here as an attachment for you. The next thing we're going to take a look at is our contacts. So let's close here, and we're going to Contacts and Manage Contacts. In this table, we can see all the contacts that have been exported from your backend system. Within this table, we can see the contact's email address, any mailing list that we've manually added them to, status, which we'll circle back to in a moment, and any other fields that you've chosen to show within the table. We can also customize our contacts table just like we did our email campaign table by clicking on that gear icon on the far right hand corner. So maybe I decide I don't need the date joined, I can uncheck that, and maybe instead I want to go ahead and add birthday. This list of fields is all the fields that were brought over from your back office system. I'm just going to go ahead and click select. When you're viewing your contacts, you can choose to display what type of contacts you want to see. So we can do all contacts, maybe you want your recently added, or if you want to look for contacts in a specific mailing list or a segment. When you are viewing contacts, we suggest going no more than 20, 50 at most if you need to, because the more contacts you see on the page, the longer the loading time for your page. You do have page numbers that you can sort through here, and you can also search by your fields or click on the name of a column header and it will sort by that column for you. So now we have the status. There are 4 main statuses that you'll see within email marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and search for my colleague Joni. I'm going to type her name and click enter. And the first status that you'll see is subscribe. The subscribe status means that this contact is actively receiving the email campaigns. An unsubscribe status means the contact has actually unsubscribed from receiving your emails. Then you have hard bounce. This status indicates that this contact does not have a valid email address. Therefore, the system will not attempt to send them an email. And lastly is your soft bounce. This status indicates that this contact does have a valid email address. However, it may be that their inbox is full and the system cannot actually send them that email. If you do have any soft bounce statuses, you'll want to make sure you change that over to subscribe. We can do that by clicking on the contact's email address. And in the status dropdown, just switch that from a soft bounce over to subscribe and save and close. That way, the next time you do go and send that contact an email, hopefully they have cleared up their inbox and they will be able to successfully receive your email. We do suggest checking your contacts frequently to double check for those bounce statuses as well as the unsubscribe. That way you can follow up with your contacts accordingly. Now what if a member unsubscribes from receiving your emails and then contacts you at the club and wants to resubscribe for those emails? Now in order to get that resubscribe form, what I'm going to do is just right click on the house icon and open up my dashboard in a new window. And we're going to navigate over 2 pages. Typically, we create a hidden page on your website called something such as email subscription. And this is the page we'll use to resubscribe our users. So what you're going to do is click Properties, General, and scrolling down, you're just going to click on this live URL. From here, you have 2 options. The first option is to fill this out yourself. So go ahead and fill out the member's details and click subscribe, and the member will then receive an email just asking them to confirm their subscription. The other option is to actually send this link directly to the member and have them do the 2 steps themselves. Now if you take a look at your site and you don't have this page hidden within your content tree, please feel free to reach out to web support at jonasclub.com and they can assist you with creating this page. Now let's take a look at a contact. You can go into a contact's detail by clicking on their email address. At the top, you can see we have email address, first name and last name, and scrolling down, we have custom fields. Now these are all the custom fields that were brought over from your back office. The mailing list tab will list any mailing list that you've manually added this contact to, and also allows you to add them directly from this tab. Next, you have properties. And properties is just going to give you some basic statistics regarding the contact, including the last date that we sent them a campaign and the last date they opened one. Then lastly, you have history, and this will list any email campaigns that the user has received. So let's go ahead and close out of here. The last thing we're going to take a look at within contacts is how to add a new contact. Now, just a reminder that you do want to add contacts through your back office system by running the export. Depending on your back office system, this will either be done manually or set to be automatic. And it is definitely encouraged to run that export prior to sending out a campaign, especially if it is going to all members. That way you know your contacts are fresh and up to date before you send that campaign. The only time we want to manually add a contact into email marketing is if they don't exist in your back office, so such as your staff or maybe your prospect members. In order to add a new contact, we're simply going to look for that Add New button, and you want to make sure you fill out at least the top 3 tabs. So for example, and on the right hand side, you always want to make sure the status is left at subscribed to make sure they're actively receiving your campaigns, and that email format is set at both. Then it is totally optional if you want to go ahead and fill out custom fields or add this contact to any mailing list. Once you're done, go ahead and save another if you have to, or save and close. The last bit to take a look at is lists and segments. Mailing lists are static, meaning contacts have to be manually added or removed from the list, whereas segments are dynamic, meaning that they will automatically update based on criteria that you've set for that segment. You can create as many lists and segments as you like and use them throughout your campaigns. We're going to go ahead and start with segments. The table here will list any segments you have, such as your all active members, or maybe you've created segments specific to, let's say, your mail members. To add a new segment, we're going to go ahead and click that new segment button. Step 1 of building a segment is to define that segment criteria. So to start, we're actually going to remove that second filter by clicking that Remove Filter button. So remember, segments are dynamic, and what you do is you're going to create certain criteria/rules, and as long as a contact meets that criteria, they will automatically be added or removed from the segment. Now just note that segments will only pull contacts with a subscribed status, so any bounced or unsubscribed statuses will not make the segment even if they match the criteria. When you're defining your segment, for the filter type, you always want to choose Contact Field, because this will then allow you to use the drop-down to pick a field that was pulled forward from your back office system. If you can't find the field you're looking for, go ahead and click More to open up the full list. So for our segment, I'm going to go ahead and select Member Status and click Select. Then you're going to choose how you want the segment to pull that data. And when it comes to choosing how we're going to pull that data, there's 4 options we use most. The first one is Contains. This will look for a loose match of anything we enter here. So for example, if you have your active status, but you also have inactive, the system will pull both an active and inactive. Next, and the most commonly used, is. This is a precise filter search and will pull exactly what you have in here. So for example, if your status is spelled out as active, but we actually put act, it's not going to pull anyone. Then you have is one of. So this is a great filter to look for multiple of the same field. So for example, multiple member statuses. So we can have, let's say, active, we can have spouse, child. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're just going to enter them with a comma between and no space. Lastly, you have is not. So this will pull everything except what you have within the value here. So for example, if you want the system to pull all member statuses except active, you can use this option. But we're going to go ahead and use is. Now when you are entering your data here, just make sure you're entering it exactly as you have in your back office system. You can utilize either the code or the description, whatever is easiest for you. And as you are adding your filter criteria, you can go ahead and click on this rotating arrow to give you an up-to-date count of how many contacts meet the criteria for this segment. So here we can see that we currently have 7 active member statuses. Now, as you are creating your segments, you can definitely add more filters to help narrow down the filter search for the segment. And we can do that by clicking that Add Filter button. So for the filter type, remember we're going to go ahead and put that to contact field. For the field, I'm going to go more, and we're going to go ahead and pick gender. And for the value, I'm going to go with is and put an F for female. Now, if you are using more than one filter, you do need to pay attention to this and or dropdown. So let's take a look at or. Or is telling this segment to look for any contacts with an active member status or who are female gender. So when we go ahead and update the count for that segment, we now have 11 contacts. You then have the and option. And the and is going to look for contacts with an active member status and that is female gender. So now when you update that count, you have 5 contacts. Once you've defined all your criteria, go ahead and click that next button. This will then take us into step 2, which is just to finalize our segment. So first we can give our segment a name, and this we suggest naming the segment based on the criteria you're using. So this is my active female members. The description is optional, and it's internal for you if you want to kind of describe what you're going to be using this segment for. And for the segment type, always make sure to leave this at dynamic, because that's what will make sure that the segment updates automatically for you. Then at the very bottom of the screen, it will show you the filter criteria that you've applied. Once you're all good, go ahead and scroll to the far right and click Finish. Once you've added your segment, you can go ahead and click that checkbox beside the name of the segment. Doing this will show you the segment criteria on the right-hand side, and you can also see how many contacts meet the criteria for that segment, and you can also view the contacts within that segment. Lastly, let's go ahead and create a mailing list together. So we're going to do that by going over to our mailing list tab. And just remember that mailing lists do have to be updated manually. When you're looking at your mailing list table, notice that you have an active and total contacts column. The active contacts only includes your subscribed and soft bounce statuses, where the total contacts will include all statuses, including your unsubscribed and hard bounces. So you'll notice that sometimes the number in the active versus total contacts can be different. To make a new list is very easy. You're just going to go ahead and click that new mailing list button and go ahead and give your mailing list a name. So for example, maybe this is my proofread list. You'll want to make sure Visible in Forms is checked, because that allows the contacts within this mailing list to update their preferences when they receive a campaign. Then you do have the description, so just like in segments, this is optional if you'd like to put a little bit more detail of what you plan on using this mailing list for. Once you're all set, go ahead and click OK. Now to add contacts to our mailing list. One of the easiest ways to do this is to actually navigate back over to your Manage Contacts tab. From here, you're going to go ahead and select the contacts that you'd like to add to that mailing list. Then at the top of the screen, go ahead and click Add to Mailing List. From your list, go ahead and select the mailing list you'd like to add those contacts to. And at the bottom, click Add to List. Once you've done that, you'll notice that the contact will now have the mailing list appear beside their email address. Now maybe you want to remove a contact from the mailing list. The easiest way to remove a contact is to actually navigate back over to your mailing list. And what you're going to do is click on the mailing list name itself. And that's because it will actually pull up all the contacts that fall within that mailing list for you. From here, go ahead and check mark your contact or contacts, and you never want to click this delete button. If you click delete, what's going to happen is it's going to delete these contacts from email marketing, and these contacts will not be added back until you run that export. The only time you want to delete contacts is if you manually added them into the email marketing system. Instead, what you're going to do is click on that More dropdown, and we're going to choose the first option, which is to remove them from the mailing list. In that window, you'll see that our mailing list is already checked. Therefore, we can scroll down and click Remove from Lists. And just circling back to our mailing list, as you saw by clicking on the name of the mailing list, you can see the contacts in there, And the same works if you click on your active contacts or your total contacts number, as it will display whatever contacts fall within that grouping. If you no longer need a mailing list, what you're going to do is checkmark the box beside the name of the list, and this time you can click that delete button. If you are deleting the mailing list, always make sure you choose the first option, which is just to delete the list. If you choose the second option, it will delete the mailing list, as well as any contacts within that list, which we don't want to do. So just the first option, and click delete.